Great, how are you doing? Went and had your jackfruit pot pie over the week. I loved it.
Oh, that's awesome.
I never had jackfruit before. I mean, I know what it is, but I've never had it. It was so good.
Good.
Yeah, I was dying.
Brian's really kind of like trepidatious about the vegan.
That's what one of your employees was saying.
He's like, I don't know.
She's like, "Shh, don't tell him, he doesn't really like to do it." I'm going, well, it's
No,
awesome.
it's not that he doesn't like to do it, he just wants it to be good. He doesn't do the throwaway thing. And he is not 100% sold that.
Well, it was really good.
I am so glad. I will tell him.
Tell him I was so excited to see it and to order it and to eat it,
Are
you know?
vegan? I didn't know.
I'm not a vegan, but
Just like
I'm,
eat clean.
yeah.
That's awesome. I will.
Oh, that's okay. Good. Oh, that's a can for free.
I heard we have one preparing it was when we had it, kind of moving that info. So, yeah. Morning.
Good morning.
Well, the location of my house, the breakfast.
Very commission.
Was it look professional?
And had it delayed.
I was excited to get two TVs going. That was about, that was challenging.
I tell you.
Have you not been up here since we got the new stuff?
No.
Are we gonna lose our quorum from Gary's house?
Well, there's only, yeah, we don't even have one right now.
I know.
Mary sent an email last night with corrections to the minutes. I was assuming she was gonna be here, but we need Justin.
Justin's not gonna be here, he's in Canada.
Okay. What about
Kevin and-
Steve?
Steve, we, I haven't heard from him, Kevin and, Kevin's me over here. Katie and Kyle are also.
Okay, so if we could get Steve and Mary would be all right.
I know they're-
That's sure, man. Come out, tell you.
Yeah, Kelly got promotion. You don't have anything going on, right?
Sorry.
You don't have anything going on, right? You're free.
We're promoting you to our promotion.
Here comes Mary.
So if we have Mary, we're okay for now.
Well, we don't have a quorum still. Well, no, you make 4. Yeah, you guys are 4 now, so yeah, you're a quorum. Sorry, I forgot to count you.
Steve says he needs the link to join virtually.
Okay. He's at steve@guanellapass.com, I think.
Mark was downstairs looking for you. I told him he was joining the meeting and to wait 15 minutes, but he probably didn't.
See down here.
Yeah, yeah.
I see we're probably here.
Present.
Yeah, that's why he's here.
Yeah. I mean, I came in ready to yell that, so. I took clarity and everything, I was like. We just lost our quorum. So, yeah, we'll wait until those guys get back.
Okay.
All right, quorum is.
Present.
You are.
Yes, yes. Alright, Jen, are you recording everything?
We are, we're good to go.
We'll call the meeting to order at 8:03 a.m. on Wednesday, July 6th, and I call this meeting of the Georgetown Business Promotions Commission to order. Can I have a roll call, please?
Kevin Kahara, Paul Boat, Chairman Cooper,
Present.
Mary Smith,
Here.
Gary Haynes.
Any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, graffiti removal.
Oh, okay. Motion to, and virtually, we have Steve Skolsky.
Are you here? Okay. Can you hear us, Steve?
Yeah,
Yeah, good. We can hear you too.
Awesome, okay.
thank you.
Can I have a motion to approve the agenda in a second? All in favor?
Okay, well, who said, was that Paul or Kevin? That seconded.
It was Mary.
Thank you.
Motion. All in favor? Aye. Agenda is approved. I did see Chief Fabian is here for something.
Let me grab him.
Okay. Hold tight.
Everybody's on mission this morning.
It's true. We'll just announce it awkward. And I was, it's like.
Well, it's not a server room, and it don't be fixed it, apparently. At least we're alive. Somebody's working. Is that your home or is that the back corner of the Silver Brick, Steve?
We can hear.
Yeah. I can barely hear anybody around the table right now.
We're waiting for someone to come back, so we're not doing a lot,
Oh, okay.
so. I know, but
Well, that looks like a house.
Audience business. Good morning, sir. How can we help you on this fine Wednesday morning?
Well, I just thought since I was right here looking at other stuff that I could forward information to you.
Absolutely.
Start with, this is the first 4th of July that I can remember since 74, that there were no volunteer fighters from Georgetown active in anything whatsoever. So the guys I had driving in the parade were all paid staff. And it's the only reason they were there, because they were on shift for that day.
Gotcha.
No volunteers from the county whatsoever were present, so. And we asked for people to help. So that's the state of the USA,
Yeah.
because the volunteerism is down across the country. And millennials tend to not volunteer, especially for dirty labor work. And the housing is a pandemic right now. I don't think it's being addressed at the upper levels that it should be. It's there's nowhere for volunteers to live. They're usually lower income class people. They're working 2 or 3 jobs. They have a family, the spouse or partner is working. So it's done, and fire authority's deficit spending right now in reserves. And I had to put paid staff on to respond to calls, because I was going on 95% of calls. And that's after hours. A lot of times I'd be by myself, so it's really become critical, and along the I-70 corridor is even worse, because the property is being bought up for short-term rentals, so that people can make profit off of people. It's really, so anyway, I could go on for that, with that stuff for a while, but I sent Jen a copy of the Idaho Springs special events application.
Okay.
I believe that you've looked at the counties.
Yeah, and we had created a town one, I pretty much copied theirs, or I made modifications, but, so we have that.
I have it, and just sort of comparing what's lacking in ours to what you want out of Idaho Springs, and we'll move those over.
What is
Jen
that?
and I will work on
I'm
it.
sorry.
What is it that we need to add in?
I just gave them as examples. I would like, the counties is pretty extensive, because it involves the county health official for the food components.
Okay.
And bathrooms such as porta johns, having enough facility for visitors. Because there aren't a lot of public restrooms. And fine participants in events tend to use people's backyards. It's very a big problem with all of the events, so having a good, solid event application, so that the event coordinators and the people coming in here to make money off of people do their part to help with the infrastructure, which, this town is made for horse and buggy and wagons, not cars. So we put cars in here and people, and it just gets really hard to manage. So on Monday with the parade, there was a point there where we were not going to get a fire truck or an ambulance anywhere past 6th Street. And that could be fatal for somebody having a heart issue.
Yeah.
And it just goes from there. So parking is a huge issue, traffic management, enforcement. With a lot of these special events, the law enforcement be provided to manage things. So, it's different with the big events where they just come through town and they're not. But when you have an event all day in town, it needs to be managed. And people that have lived here for a long time get real irritated by being inconvenienced.
For sure.
If they're the tourists,
they become a part of the problem as well, so it's. And then we had. Down the street, they had a food thing set up. Serving food to the public. That was unmanaged, I think yours was just for your event staff.
Are you talking about next door?
Yeah, down
Yeah,
there.
that chef's corner.
So
Are you
the,
talking about Chef's Corner or what was outside of Coffee and Tea?
I'm sorry, I can't hear very well.
That's okay. Are you talking about down here outside of Chef's Corner with our oven, or what, the big barbecue that was being served down in front of Coffee and Tea?
That was a bigger problem, but it's similar problem, because they had their barbecue out on the sidewalk, people had to, the street was closed, so they could walk around it.
Right.
They, you know. Do we know that the food's being managed well?
We didn't know anything about that, so that was one thing we were gonna address this morning, is that that was unknown to us as a group, that was going to be happening. So we're definitely address that.
So it's only fair that the temporary stuff is managed just as stringently as the restaurants that have to. You have to do specific things to operate. People serving food on the street because they want to make some money. And then there was a guy doing Thai too.
Well, yeah, we'll. So,
That's- I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to be pursuing something for it in that special event.
Okay, if I review that, the application that we currently have and just sort of rewrite it, based, so John and I can work on that together, rewrite it closer to what Idaho Springs has, send it to you, we will just look it over and say, yes, that's great.
I would also add that the concerns that you're bringing up have also been vocalized by, the local police had some struggles as well.
Yeah.
They were frustrated by the same situations and primarily revolved around the stuff that you guys had to deal with during the parade and being able to get to those people and then get them out of town in an ambulance. And so,
That parade route ties up the street. Even off the side street, so you have people coming in, they wanna go up Cornell Pass. They don't care if there's a parade.
no, and that's, we had some, because it was, the parade should have had some, I mean, nothing we could have controlled, I mean, in the current state. Unless we rewrote the parade route, but we had the people that wanted to leave town were frustrated when we had to block that one route, so it was dominoes. As we had to reroute the parade, so,
And
I'm not saying anything that's not unreasonable.
Sure, and we've, the fire department has managed traffic flow for events since '82. And we have a pretty well established route for the buses and stuff. I'm not gonna be here for 10 more years, so once I'm gone, we need to have something that works in place that can be used from then on. We have citizens blocking the street trying to detour traffic, Grinnell Pass has been come through their neighborhood. It's like,
Yeah, that was a separate, we can.
back in the past, when I was doing significant signage, I would rent signs to put up because we used to have a lot more people here in town for our events. And we had to do more for traffic. We did one-way traffic flow. People would say, it's just one day, what do you get so worked up over it? So now, some of those people, because I know who's putting that detour out there. It's just one day, I can't.
I have a question. Do you have any of those little traffic maps?
I, maps in my head, I just printed a new one out for Beth for the Slacker, for the bus route for the Slacker, so I can expand on that.
It'd be helpful if you share your corporate experience, your corporate memory of wayfinding you know, the maps, traffic maps, traffic flows that we could help you put together as you get what you would like for the county and events that we can actually add to that and use our resources to help you do.
Yeah, it would be.
That partners. Is, may I ask you another question, is the person who's trying to reroute traffic because they don't want it through their neighborhood, that's not something that the city knows, is it?
No, when I see it out there, I take it apart, so I've taken down 2 signs that we put up, they have these folding signs,
Really?
they could fold down. Cause they don't like it on the weekends either,
Are there consequences for these residents?
I'm sorry.
Are there consequences for these residents who are taking traffic control onto
Well,
their own shoulders?
they were directing traffic to go down Fifth Street and then take a hard turn on Rose.
Yeah, but do they get a formal warning, or do they get jail time or a fine?
Well, they could get any of the above, but,
Can we
they
get
don't have any visual proof that so and so did it.
Do you confiscate the signs, or do you give them back?
That would be through the town.
Or, okay, I think the sign should be taken. And
Yeah.
for
They'd be,
fines, jail time.
they'll reposition the barricades that the town uses for events.
So consequences need to be applied, and maybe that would stop that.
So I think just to, you're correct, I mean, obviously that's a separate conversation for our town administrator. But it's an important conversation, it needs to happen. On the subject of this, we're probably gonna have like a meeting, like a smaller meeting, like towards the end of this month, just to kind of recap the 4th, as far as like what to do for next year. A couple people have requested that, so if I can either send you the link to that meeting, or if you could, I mean, it'll probably be towards the end. Yeah. I mean, it's, because I think if you can, if we need to figure out a different route for the parade specifically, that will alleviate what happened on Monday with the ambulances needing to leave, and, I mean, I don't know if you know that when things got really sticky, we actually backed the whole parade up and set it up to house.
Yeah.
So,
There could be, I haven't talked with my guys over there, but I could see their truck was parked in the middle of the road, so could they do better with their placement so that things can still keep going by somebody that passed out that's not having a heart attack, that they're not actually doing something? The ambulance does that too, they just park wherever and jump out.
there was, I think we didn't have 3 EMS calls total, was it 2 or 3 in a day?
There was one there and then there's.
There was one at 11:00.
Yeah, but that was a little bit after, they spread it out.
Well, thank you to your people for all of your efforts on Monday, and what you guys had to deal with was very stressful, and we really appreciate you being so responsive and helping all of the tourists we had that were in distress, because that was more EMS than there was more calls than I remember. It
Yeah,
was fast.
I had a guy do the laps. He was getting mad, because I would let him go over that fast, so. I was
I didn't do
more
any of that.
concerned about what was going on there, because. They had a friend following him, but he was getting aggressive with his vehicle,
Mhm.
so I didn't go, because traffic stopped. But he didn't know that there was a line of traffic of Argentine over holding. Because people were coming down going Pass, and maybe part of that solution is to close Grinnell Pass for a portion of that event.
I had somebody drive.
Absolutely.
Really?
When I was trying to stop traffic on my, somebody drove around.
Yeah, those people should be, I mean, we do need extra costs, those people get prosecuted.
There was-
That's
They
dangerous.
couldn't get to them, I mean, like, I had a police radio, and
You take your license plate picture.
they couldn't, we were so in the thick of it at that point. Just get through. Yeah,
3 guys got nailed.
they had a reserve on, but it's
Yeah.
more, yeah,
There should be a dozen of them there.
they had a part-time reserve guy. Cause I was with him for and he was great, don't get me wrong, it wasn't, I mean, it was just, there was not enough. People, the kind of trajectory that took place was the parade stopped when the second person, when the person passed out here. And you guys are dealing with the act. The parade couldn't get around, so the parade had stopped. So Jen was on the other side of town, trying to get, so I ran, and I was talking to people, so I was telling the people I could what was happening, but I couldn't tell them what was happening. I had a police radio, my battery died. So I was on my phone and using the walkie-talkie, trying to tell everybody what we were gonna do, and they were also telling me what they wanted to see happen, but that was just Georgetown Police, it wasn't Clear Creek. And I was trying to talk to Jen, and then anyway, we pulled the barricade, we sent the parade backwards, but it was a whole different order. The Corvettes became the Grand Marshal to get up Sixth Street. And
Some great entries may have been on the other side of the barricades at some point.
there was parts of that, yeah, I think one of the barricades, but then, yeah, so it was complicated for a minute. So this is a good time to do our 4th of July recap, everybody.
With golf carts for key parade workers be in order, you rent golf carts. It sounds like that's probably responsible for it.
I would love to see a golf cart too out there. I mean, our two lovely unicycling volunteers were super helpful because they can get in between or even a golf cart can.
Yeah.
And can get, but they don't, as official as they try to be, they still look like part of the parade. So they're not as commanding as
Sure.
one might be in an official looking golf cart that says something that people move out of the way for. But for me, I mean, I put 26,000 stuff just in that parade, trying to run in my go-go from one end to the other. And so, yeah, a faster mode and a more official mode would probably
We
be.
used to do that in only 40 acres, and we started running several golf carts for the whoever running it. It was a few thousand people that were in that space. And we found that it changed a lot of things for us because of the ability to just mobilization. Also, what it did is it helped to support the emergency services that we had there, because if somebody wasn't having an acute emergency, we could get them to the EMS without the EMS having to come to us. So that helped out quite a bit, because elderly people or whatever was going on, we could get them right to where we needed to get up. I thought about that this year, especially since we watched some of our vehicle go to the parade. And I thought how valuable that. But another point, the thing about wayfinding, and I know this sounds a bit the wayfinding and the moving of barricades and the redirecting of traffic on one's own as a vigilante has a lot to do with our discussion today. It has a lot to do with 4th of July, it has a lot to do with safety, and it has a lot to do with events going forward in the town of Georgetown, because if people are taking it on their own to do that, they are just undermining what we're trying to do as a group and what our safety officers and people who are frontline workers are doing to try to keep people safe. It's undermining everything. And so it is important to the conversations as a whole. I just want to say that for the record.
Rex on Monday, and we thank you for being here and what you guys have to deal with, so. You're welcome to hang out for the 4th of July recap, but I'm sure you're a busy person, so.
Certainly not but I will come anytime to work sessions or whatever, because
Absolutely, well,
there's a lot of stuff that's been done that has learned, so there's a lot of value with other events to bring to the table.
I will update you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, well, I guess let's jump into the 4th of July recap. So the parade was fun. I mean, great. It's 7 years out of my life, but otherwise it's fine. So just to kind of get, for those who were not aware, we did have to reroute the parade. And I've taken a little bit of heat for it from a couple of upset citizens that didn't. We're not gonna get into the whys in great detail, but we had to reroute the parade, and that's just what had to happen, and that was with the blessing of, I couldn't talk to Kelly, but I talked to Randy before it happened, so he wasn't in the road, we just rerouted the parade. So he knew what was happening. Communication was frustrating for Gemini on the day of. We had police radios, our police radios weren't working very well. And so that's something that for next year needs to be addressed, and also being able to talk to Kelly would be good. It was the batteries on our radios, Jen.
Okay, I was gonna say, we just bought those walkie-talkies.
Walkie-talkies were fun.
The walkie-talkies were
Police
fun.
radios that only were given to Amanda and I, and they were given, I don't know anything about police radios, it's not my wheelhouse, but it was given to me as, this is working, it's turned on and it's on the right channel, and I can tell you, I never heard one thing over that police radio. And I didn't
What about
want
yours?
to mess with it too much because it's police radio, you know? I don't want to screw up somebody else's line of communication. We did have walkie-talkie communication, but you're talking about 6 people with walkie-talkie. I don't know who's talking to who, even with our extra cute call signs. And so a lot of that was just, you know, they worked great, and I'm glad we had it, it was better than nothing.
It worked fine for us, but
But we needed to know, yeah, sorry.
yeah, we didn't talk to Randy and Kelly or anybody else, and that was where. And honestly, when I called, I tried to call John, and my phone wouldn't work, then I tried to call Randy, and I could barely hear him. It was so weird, and that was kind of in the thick of what was happening over here at 7.
And the parade goes on, so there's noise, I mean, people calling me, and there's the sirens, everybody's having fun. I think, you know, we did a great job of, nobody knew there was massive time, so everybody continued to have fun. But trying to even communicate through the fun was nearly impossible, even if they had been working. I'm not sure I would have been able to hear anything anyway, because it's a parade. It's fun.
There are communication systems that are made for stage managers, they're made for large events. And production people that are different than just the walkie-talkies, they're also in your ear. And so that way you're hearing it, but also people aren't necessarily hearing what's going on, so that they won't be alarmed. If they don't know what's happening, in the Russian part of the program, we're going, I know that we just said as long, especially a few days ago about the lack of money here. But perhaps we can find some kind of a donor or a grant, they are a few $1,000s, but it might be less than 2, I'm not sure, somewhere in that range, I think for support system.
Yeah.
Where I work, just because even where I work, even though it's 3 floors in our where I work, sometimes if we're having an event, it's only 100 people, you just don't know what's going on, you want to be able to communicate something that's happening, which of course, but I haven't looked at those, and this semi-solution for us, especially if we can get enough of them because they're wide range and for the also for the first responders, that's really.
Maybe the fire authority could be a code applicant for a grant.
I think the one thing that maybe for next year would be helpful is it's cumbersome for them to take on additional communication to accommodate us.
Yeah.
We just have to be incorporated into their communication better.
You can designate a certain channel for.
We were on tab 2 is what we had, and so we were on the not trafficked
Yeah.
channel that like the sheriff's walk and everything. So it wasn't, you know, hearing Jim and I like talking over, you know, whatever. But it was when the radios died, and both of our radios died. And that was, you know, because we obviously, they didn't give us like the best radios, nor should they, we're not, they needed best radios.
Yeah.
So I think for next year, having better radios is really crucial. And making sure that we can talk to the fire authority is crucial, because that's where things got very complicated, and was also frustrating for them. When the parade got rerouted, they didn't know that we had to reroute the parade.
Even with fire authority, we're having trouble getting more.
Yeah, I think that's what, there's something, it's one of the things. So other than having to reroute the parade, and the emergency calls, and the fact that I have heard from multiple people there was far too many Corvettes.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I would love, if somebody wants to come down to 11 Rose with Gemini next year and tell the Corvettes that they can only have 10, by all means, join us, but otherwise, the Corvettes are gonna be free. I can't control the Corvettes and neither can you.
Can we circle back?
We give them a number, but when I tell them the number, and then, you know, I say 15 cars is great, and they show up with 30.
Maybe separate them into 2 batches, having the 2 different parts of the parade if it's over a certain amount. Maybe that will be good,
Oh,
medium, medium.
I mean, we can get tougher if we want to, and just simply be like,
No,
if you show up
don't
with Connor, the
discourage
first 15 Corvettes get to be in our parade. But we don't wanna do that,
don't
so.
discourage them, I would break it into smaller
Into
groups and
groups.
have them in 2 different parts.
They're great, and so I love, but I mean, again, let's talk about the fact people take time out of their holiday to come over
Exactly.
to do this,
Do not discourage them.
but they're also very persistent. The word.
Persistent is definitely correct. I mean,
Enthusiasts, but there are people who are car enthusiasts, and also, it's not like we have way too many things going on in that parade, it's going on for 6 hours, I mean, what's the problem? I mean, I maybe said.
we agree with you, I mean, it is what it is. There's always going to be somebody who has a problem with some entry into the parade, it is what it is, everybody wants to be there, and we appreciate that they want to be there. And we're not gonna discourage participation, even when they're like, can we go now, can we go now, can we go? Gotta wait, you can go up to the deck. You can go up
Like literally, they're like, follow the yellow dot. You got here first, I'm like, that doesn't make you grand marshal.
to the- There was a good marshal. We didn't know that until. she-
I didn't know that either. Yeah. Fox everyone.
Yeah, really, he's got a good precedent.
What were you gonna say?
I just want to circle back to the, actually, an issue that's really important, which is communication, and I understand you want to be in with the sheriff's office and the first responders. I would like to know exactly what larger organizations and larger towns are doing to ensure that happens, and I think that research is paramount. And I think just saying that we've got radios, or we have no radio isn't sufficient, or if we're getting this kind of feedback from our our authority, then it's a serious issue that we need to address, and more whether or not we have 16 Corvettes.
I think with the communication piece, you're correct, and again, one of the issues is we can't expect them to carry additional communication on us, so we have to have a plan to be incorporated into their communication.
Yeah, and that's why I would like to look to see whether we're doing, because some of those systems I talked about, I'm not sure if it's reality, but I believe, because all these other collaborations that we did with the EMS is how to do that, and they incorporate into the channel that the police department has on their system.
I'm happy to take on the researching of how other towns of grades manage this. I know from my own research historically, this has not been an issue, and I think it's why it hasn't been addressed, because we've been like, right now, 2 years that I've done this parade, we have had a medical emergency.
Last year we didn't have an issue getting in touch with everybody.
We didn't, but I think where he went down and where we were and where EMS, it just all worked out that we were able to address it. But I think that from everybody I've talked to, fire, walk, we haven't had major issues that have happened. Now we've had 2 years in a row where it's been an issue, now it's time to address that we were just lucky in the past and now we need a plan.
Prevention isn't sexy.
Right.
No one wants to do it, and actually nobody will praise you for what you prevented to happen. But
No, I'm sort of
vital.
discovering that.
And we've always run, and I found this when I moved here, things that I do, is we tend to run in the 1970s model as if things still are small and everything's small and it's all good. And you'll get pushback for trying to professionalize what you're doing, but the truth is, except for a city, you aren't covered by your insurance if you don't have a specific kind of insurance to cover a certain thing, or if you're not doing certain steps, you're not covered in it, and then we become target, and our press goes in a completely different direction, and that's what we are as a promotions mission. So we can have a really good feel-good story about how hokey we are as a town, and we have a parade that is, guys on unicycles and all the fun stuff that we do. And so sorry, Amanda, but the problem is that good feeling turns immediately into the opposite direction if we don't prepare for it. So that's why I'm harping on this weird thing, but Kelly, it's just like fireworks. Kelly pointed it out, that there is a huge danger in doing that. I'm a huge fireworks fan, and you know, what do we do to circumvent these issues, and how can we do it so that we don't lose something, that we're actually improving it, and it might cost us money, but maybe a lot of grants.
I will say that Randy, cause I talked to him, it was a week before, and he was concerned about the radio situation, but that was on us for not telling him in May, we needed radios.
I think Blaine's point was right, yeah, let's just fix it.
No, I mean, like, there is, I think it's already out in the works, that there's gonna need to be new radios for next year.
Yeah, I just wanted to put
Yeah.
it two cents about how.
No, for sure. And I think that is an important thing for Rick to have to figure out. And so I think, you know, he knew that we were not in there, it wasn't a solvable problem, and he was concerned about it at the time, and we were doing the best with what we had. But you're correct, it needs to be solved for next year, and I think that both Randy and Kelly want to have a follow-up meeting about how to resolve any emergency issues. With Gemini specifically, from the Broad perspective, so that'll happen at some point this month.
And I'll definitely talk to other towns and do some research on how they manage.
We just need radios.
I would
We just need
I would
radios.
talk to towns of our size. It's a repeated issue in all kinds of things, and even in certain things like what I'm looking at in the Zoom room right now. That we have one camera focused and sees 3 people at a time, and we didn't bother looking to see if there's another solution that might cost $1,000 that actually hits everyone. So I'm looking at all of these things, and I think we need to look at large organizations and find out whether or not we can afford it, and whether or not we have to change what we're doing or to find money in other directions. So that's why I'm so hot on large groups and what are they doing in those ways. Because I only see myself here, but I don't see Gary, I don't see Mary. We have 2 TVs now, but we have small TVs that I, as a visually impaired person, can't see. So, you know, are we looking into what other people are doing and trying to do it in those ways, or are we just trying to figure it out on our own time?
I definitely hear you, and wants to refocus the discussion, you definitely have very valid points. And next year we need radios,
Great, that's great.
that's. And so, what else on the parade, besides the safety issues, which were crucial, but I do wanna give a big shout out to how the parade goes. Everyone did a really good job.
I was gonna say, this is my first experience of the parade, and I was really amazed at how fun it was. And sitting on the, you know, just talking to people from out of town, listening where they're, I'm just talking to people. And seeing this, I mean, everyone was having such a great time.
Yeah.
I did not know at the time what was going on with the ends, but eventually I figured out what was going on. Randy kept me in constant conversation of what was going on. I was amazed at just how many people showed up, and I was told that this was a lower turnout, but I've never experienced a parade like this. And you know, from Augusta to Brush, and you know, they're not the same. And so this was small, but it felt huge because so many people. I mean, I looked down and it was packed all the way down the road on both sides, and then going to the city park, Mary was amazing. Just she made it fun, but there was a lot of people, and so another thing that I do love the fireworks just like you, Paul. But one thing I thought was interesting is of how us, Silver Plume, and Idaho Springs all had different events. And so we went to Silver Plume afterwards to Ice Cream Social, and then went to the museum to participate just like everyone else. And then we went to Idaho Springs to watch the fireworks. So it was, I mean, I actually met with their city administrator as well. And we hung out, and they were so honored that I came to be with them that they're like, we need to talk about maybe next year, or even beforehand, pre-planning with our towns so that we can showcase something different, but be in sync with each other. So we're not competing in a sense. So I don't know, I just thought that's a great idea. It happened this way. I know we used to do fireworks here, but we're not doing fireworks. And so they are, and we can capitalize on that somehow. But anyways, I want to commend you guys. It was awesome. I know we did have setbacks, but from a perspective of just a regular person, it was incredible. I was amazed.
Really glad to hear that, thank
Yeah.
you.
I was my first grade ever watching it. Being part of it, because I wasn't feeling March, but I think I was feeling this asthma thing, and I would have thought I had COVID, and was coughing. But it was great, and no one knew, and I heard scuttlebutt, of course, because I didn't scuttlebutt, but no one had a negative thing to say about how you handled the turnaround. Everybody thought that it was.
I thought it was brilliant.
And
I was in.
And that's what I heard from everyone.
Your car was.
Yeah.
And I heard, on the street,
I told you.
because people lined up in front of the house, and I was sitting on the porch, and I heard from the street that, take down your accent. Because I live in South for so long, I was hearing about it, that came down to, oh, there's a medical emergency, so they're changing things, and I'm like, that's wonderful, that's all I heard.
Yeah.
That's great.
No, I thought the decisions were made quickly and logically communicated effectively. You know, I was in that first part of the parade, so I couldn't see around the corner what was happening, but when I saw EMS pull up, I thought, and so, but no, it was very good, and I thought, wow, to do this on the fly, I think both of you had a lot of composure and use of good sense.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good job. That's a lot, but thank you. Moving on past the parade. Afternoon events, we obviously, so the bucket brigade that was planned was canceled because the EMS was too busy. So that was Kelly. They didn't have enough people to support that, so that had to get pulled. That decision was made at like 1, I'm sorry, skipping the park, I mean, go back
It
to
might
the
have been a
park.
little bit earlier than that, but yes. And I talked about this a little bit yesterday, and yes, we could totally have had a backup plan that didn't involve EMS, but the way that it was presented to do it this way, in sort of the spirit of the way it had always been done, with EMS, with the fire trucks providing the water and using their buckets and their big burning houses, and that's the way I wanted it to go. I wanted it to be like that, and sort of a second-rate version of that wasn't really acceptable to me, so I was heavy enough to cancel it rather than try to improvise or have a backup, and, you know, whether that decision, it was what it was, I'm not gonna argue with Kelly, and so it's like, he can't provide fun because he has to save people's lives, and it is as disappointing as it was, and I wish we could have, then I think we'll regroup and we'll try again, maybe we will have a backup somehow to that. And the backup also kind of relied on Parks Kevin, who's out. So that was another sort of hunting thing that we all had to kind of come together and, you know, mow lawns and get things done that Parks normally would have done with Kevin out. So that was another brigade. It was also pouring, so I'm not entirely sure how fun.
That was helpful, that it actually rained at the right time.
It did. I did ask, because you had asked me, so I did a little research on that, like, do we always do the bucket brigade in the rain? Just trying for me as a planner, like, that's bluegrass band we had, I'm trying to figure out some pictures. Just to talk about, for a second, the bluegrass band that we had was amazing. Like, they were super great and super fun. I am frustrated with continually spending a lot of money to have bands play on library stage from 2 to 4 when we know it's going to pour. So they're playing for 4 people. Now, which is 4th of July, is that the way it always happens? So I did a little research from people who have lived here much longer than myself, and I'm told it's about 50-50. But how can we move forward in planning those things where it makes sense that we have an audience that remains in Georgetown for things we pay for, and they're amazing, like, they were great. The people who were there loved them, and they played through the rain. I told them they could take a rain break and, you know, fed them some popovers, and then told them they could come back and we'd let them play fast forward if they needed to. They didn't want to, they were having a blast. And they had like 6 people that were braving the rain. But anyway, that's just things to think about, I guess. And for me, not knowing historically how that generally played out, did we not do the bucket brigade in the rain, or did we just power through that 2 to 4 o'clock rain?
I don't know. I don't know. The bucket brigade will be here when I got here.
No,
I think we were rained out once or twice for Mountain Jams last year this summer.
like totally rained out.
We were rained out once, completely rained out once for Mountain Jams last year. And I think it wasn't even the Mountain Jams, it was another group that it would have been during the same period. On Saturday, but if you're gonna spend $2,000 on $200 on a guy to operate the sound, then rethink it. Cause backup is always, like if you have a bucket brigade, it's not pouring, but you can't do the
No,
you can't do the bucket brigade. Right, because there's an emergency, because it's better that it's great, but there's an emergency, whatever, but we can't do anything about emergencies. And they're, like you said, they're rare, but we want to be prepared for them, and have music as a backup, have a DJ give them dance. DJs are a heck of a lot cheaper than a fabulous bluegrass band.
right. And maybe
And then maybe
it comes
later.
down to, there's been talk of subcommittees, not only for safety, but also for just logistics, beyond this, and perhaps purchasing with all of our vast resources, really, a big tent, something that we can use event to event to event, but that we can house music. And anyway, just things to think about for next year, and perhaps this isn't the right place to do that, but to form committees to take that on of things that, and obviously it would just be used for the 4th of July, but we have many events where I think something that contains the weather.
If those
Pretty
are for
beneficial.
$6,000 to $10,000 a pop. So $4,000 to $10,000 a pop for a giant tent. So if those rent that much, they must be 10 times that, right?
What's the cost for rent to purchase?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, they're a couple $1,000 just for that for a couple of days.
and they can go up to 10 depending on the size of it.
And let's hold those thoughts when we get back to the lodging tax. I think this is a great segue.
We have to grant this now, that's good. Whatever, okay, so, are we gonna have a postmortem?
On 4th of July?
Yeah,
We could probably, look, there's 2 more points I wanted to make, and then we should probably wrap up, because we've got a really big agenda, so maybe we'll carry over to next month. The beer garden, to the best of my knowledge, was great. Does not sound like we had any incidents related to the beer garden's presence, so that's awesome. Huge thank you to Steve at Guanola and the crew at Cabin Creek for being a beer garden, and I hope it was good for them. It seemed like it was a very excellent addition. The one hiccup we did have is that the road in front of the park was supposed to be closed, and it did not. So it was supposed to be shut off for parking and stuff, so that's something for next year that needs to happen. And then we also did not have the regular performance.
Yeah,
So,
we only came up with 6 people, because a couple of them came up with medical issues.
yeah,
Some of them were out of town, so.
did you guys do when I got to barbecue, it was kind of late, because I was down here dealing with down here stuff. Did you guys mingle at the barbecue and all that good stuff, and,
Not in my knowledge, I don't think we were.
okay,
So,
yes.
In my role as the gazebo with the band and the barbecue, there were several people who were asking about the beer garden. Now, granted, I'm trying to, plug that also, but wondered that they couldn't continue to participate in the activities if they were over there for the beer garden. So just, and I know we have a plan, we always do, but I just wanted to voice that there were several attendees, tourists, whomever, who would have loved to have had the opportunity to remain in City Park with barbecue and they and everything else, as opposed to having to go across the street from here. So,
Would if we have like, because the one thing that's very contentious, and I understand it, is that the beer can't be by the kids. And so it would have to be fenced off. Would that have made a difference to people?
I
If
think
it stood in a fenced area at the corner of the park versus being in the dog park?
Yeah, I mean, just to tell them, well, you could take your barbecues over there, there's tables over there, instead of the other thing that came up was. Again, a tent, because you were there, that was the blazing part of the day, which was great, however, you know, you're dying, so my response was, we'll drink more beer, but I don't think that's quite the sunshade that they want.
Well, and for my own conversation for the first with Randy, this was sort of a trial to
Right.
see if it goes smoothly and perhaps show that we can manage it. We have the volunteers, we have the infrastructure, and now we've proven ourselves to be worthy of hopefully moving it to City Park for next year. I was asked by several people in City Park, where is the beer garden? I'm like, you're looking at it, it's right there. But yes, having that move to the festivities obviously is my goal for next year. But I'm glad that we can now move forward in that way of saying we had zero issues. There was no underage consumption, there was nobody wandering the streets of Georgetown with their purchased beer cup. And we can point to, we had the volunteers, we closed out the exit, we kept track of what we were doing. And we can do that probably even better in a smaller contained space in City Park versus the expanse of the dog park, which is huge. So that's my feeling on that moving forward, is that hopefully we are in a position now where we can make that case.
No, I agree. I think that for next year, that would be good. I just worry about space in City Park, that's the only thing I think.
What about closing off tips between Taos and Rose? There's only two forward facing houses on that, work with those residents. And it's adjacent to City Park, that doesn't take up square
That's not
footage
bad,
in City
yeah.
Park.
City Park, basically.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
good idea.
and then one side's already fenced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That's actually really, that's
So,
a.
just a-
Structures already in place are always a good thing.
Yeah, it's true.
So just.
We are gonna wrap up because it is almost 9. We have a massive agenda to get through, so.
Can I just say really quickly,
Yeah.
just because it was brought up by Kelly, and for anyone else who saw the t-shirt sales happening
Oh,
in the
yeah.
parking lot of the hotel, we
We
did shut that down.
We handled that.
It was handled, they were just being, I mean, they're just trying to be fun and sort of off the cuff, and clearly they don't follow procedurally what they need to. We gave them the proper procedures if they wish to do something like that in the future. They have my card and contact information, and they were very nice about putting it away and moving on. But I just wanted to address that we did address that. A little later than we would have liked to, but we were super busy.
Yeah, and then the other one was a business that has a food license already, correct? They just moved out to the street.
Yeah, and they do have a license, so I'm not sure, I'm not sure how we could, or if even it would be appropriate for us to tell them this.
And the ones that don't.
Right.
Yeah,
So.
Huh?
I mean, they have,
That's
that's,
so on you, I think, afterwards, right?
I can't hear you, what?
Like, they weren't permitted to move their business out into the street, that's you in the end.
No, it's not. Why are you trying to diss me? Jeez.
After the fact, it's not.
No, she was the one that's involved with vendors for special events.
I missed it, anyway, I was saying after the fact, what we would do. If this
Okay.
were somebody moved on the street that already had a business license, but that we need to talk to them about whether or not they can do that in the future is another issue that is.
Yes, it's the administration and it's the fire chief and it's more than just me, yeah.
There was no internet, that was happening. I didn't.
I was just.
I'm assuming.
but they have, so I don't know if they're,
I think you just need to pay $5 for that paperwork to be on the side of that.
yeah, it's definitely the sidewalk piece is between
Yeah.
Rick and.
And Jen and I have spent a lot of time looking at this, we're trying to make it very consistent, because I think I don't want a loophole that someone keeps going after. and going, oh, but I'm just doing this. It's like, no, we want a standard. So Jen and I have been working a lot on that. So, we're gonna make it a consistent standard, so.
Yeah, it makes it tough when people, when things happen last minute and we don't have a chance to follow any kind of rule or set any kind of rule or do anything, and then people come after us, yeah.
Enforcement on a day like that, I mean, like the t-shirt people are old school logos that I knew.
Just trying to be entrepreneurial.
And I knew, and once I realized who it was, I was like, you guys are better.
Well, you know,
And they were
this
like,
happens, it happens every minute. Slacker, there was one, and they set up stuff, they came out 2 years in a row doing the same thing, and they went, oh, we just didn't know, and it's like, but you know, we've asked them to submit their stuff, and they still haven't done anything.
It's the forgiveness rather than the permission,
Yeah.
and you're not gonna be able to do much about it during the day unless you have extra time. And you know, you've got a business that's just trying to be entrepreneurial that has a business here. You can't do anything about it except to say, hey, next time, let's make sure you're permitted, and let's figure out the way to do it, you're doing the right thing, let's figure out the way to do it.
To the same effect, during Christmas market, we have businesses that expand to the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know,
They get in it's a seasonal encroachment agreement.
Yeah.
And they sign it, and you're the one who brought it up too. Marty is the first one that has brought it up since I've worked here besides you. But it's $5, but I mean, there's things that go along with it, and not just anybody can go off somebody else's and just try to, you know, skirt the issue.
I knew you would know what that was.
Yeah.
I know what it means. Yeah.
Well, no,
so in this particular regard, I think what this kind of maybe comes down to is that next year, we send out, you know, a reminder starting in May, and Jen and her business can be like, hey, you're gonna do anything on the sidewalk, make sure you fill out your seasonal encroachment agreement.
Well,
Because Jen and I were too busy to
This
honestly
particular
shut
year?
down barbecues and t-shirts.
Yeah, so.
This year in particular, because I went business to business specifically asking people to put things on the sidewalk for Slacker. So that I didn't constantly get the feedback of, Slacker just comes in and they run over the town and we don't make any money. Well, yeah, because sweaty runners don't like to come into your business. We have money, and I can say we, because I am one, I always have a card in my little shorts pocket, I wanna spend money in the town, but I won't come into your business all gross for my goods. But if you put stuff on your sidewalk that appeals to me, then I will buy it. So I went to every business and said, you know, pick a thing or two and pay the $5 and fill out the paperwork that you need to fill out with town to be able to do that. That's a little bit of a pain, I get it, it's good for the year. You can put it out there. Of course, nobody took me up on that, but my point to that is they knew. Everybody knows that that's, every business in the town that was open in any consistency heard that from me, that this is the process to be able to vend on the sidewalk, so.
did you tell them about the agreement they need to get?
Yeah, I told them you need to sign the agreement at town hall and pay the $5.
And there's also insurance and there's more stuff, so maybe I'll send you the agreement so you can, not to give it to them, but, well, you can give it to them, but so you know what exactly it
They
is.
need to do, yeah, no, you did send it to me, because I was the one who asked you about it and said, can they do this, is that, and you're like, you went and
We
looked.
said, yeah,
It was like a 2010 written,
agreement, yeah, that they need to
Yeah.
at least fill out, so we have it on file, so we're
and
covered.
I did tell them that, you just.
Well, you guys didn't even do it, so, but we can go talk about that later.
Yeah, we're, okay.
Could you sell it on the spot, you know, that conversation, since it's only like $5? Like, could you fill it out with that person?
Yes, I
right
could
there?
carry a stack of them and maybe that.
I don't think it's up to her to approve it, I mean, there's other things they need, it's Rick that approves them.
But I can have them fill it out,
But she can
while
fill it
scanning
out.
and then submit it.
Right.
With all the needed insurance information.
Well,
Okay.
they would have to submit it all to you, but I mean. I can-
At least get the application going for them or something.
We'll get you
It's
all.
an agreement.
With the procedures and everything that's required.
You could also go out on your renewals for business licenses, do you wanna do this once a year, it's $5 extra.
Is it $5 just one time?
I'm pretty sure we'll have to, yeah, surprisingly, but there's more to it, and we need to, I don't have the agreement in my head.
Sure.
So I can send it to you, I can send it to all of you guys and just see it.
It would be great, and they can just go, oh, I want to do that, it's an add-on, and then you get an extra $5 for the business license, I know that it goes all to.
But it doesn't mean that people can ride off of other people's agreements.
Yeah.
It's the business owner and if they're renting, then they need like written permission, so.
Right, so all business operators get that.
So the town isn't
because
liable.
they decided that they're adding on to the front of their business that they're operating.
So, okay. We'll tackle that because the next event that's gonna come up will probably be Dog Days Summer. So if you would be able to send us that.
Yeah,
So that we
easy.
can get it on the agenda.
Yeah, and it goes for other things besides just events. I mean,
Just like. in
other
general.
people do it just in general, like I know Kevin sets out stuff,
Yeah.
no big deal. But we need to be consistent, like Rick is
I was gonna
saying.
bring that up because before I started doing, like a sidewalk sale, as long as 12 years ago when Marindale was still here, I asked her, I said, is this okay to do? And she gave me, I'll have to find it, but she gave me a copy of a town ordinance that said that as long as you don't exceed 2 uninterrupted weeks of doing it, you can just do it. So there may be some.
Okay, we'll have to look at it again,
conflicting
because
information
that was,
out there,
and-
Because that's why I take it in and out, it's there, maybe 2 or 3
Right,
days a month.
and I don't wanna be, I don't mean to come across as being upset, but it's like, it is upsetting because we have to chase people down.
Sure.
And people don't do what they say they're gonna do. It's just, yeah, it gets to be kinda,
Yeah, I will look for what she gave me to see if it's still
Okay.
valid,
great.
but, if other folks who've been around town for a while were told the same thing in the past, that's what I've been operating.
Well, I've got a bunch of information on it, so I'll send it all out to you guys. That'll
So
be
maybe,
good.
maybe it's not valid anymore.
Okay. We have to move on, we have a lot on the agenda. So thank you guys for a good discussion on the fourth, we'll carry it over to the next meeting to wrap up any loose ends, and then Jen will get that agreement out to us. The next event, or the next item on the agenda is your manager of marketing events update, and where this will obviously come up again is Dog Day this summer, because we're gonna have the street closed that day. So we'll make sure that we're organized for that, so carry on.
I don't have a ton to add for Dog Days of Summer, still trying to get the pieces from the people that I need, but I did send out a press release for it, we do have marketing materials for it that were handed out on the fourth. We have our logo in place, we have our hours figured out, we have music, and so there's just some details around it, but it's together enough to be publicized where I think we can get a good turnout.
When is this?
When? August 15th.
August.
I think that if you're waiting for other people to get you their components of
I
it
know,
or
I
like that, I think that we need to figure out exactly what we're doing now on our own, because we are not that.
I'm moving forward on my own with what I know to be the case and what people have told me that they wanted, and I really. That was more of a courtesy than anything, the best event for that day that I can get a good event with marketing help with is participation in marketing that event, because a lot of this, when it was originally proposed, was sort of hinging on the fact that we're gonna get great participation because everything basically Parker touches gets a huge turnout, but I need him to start doing that. So that's the one part that I am relying on someone else for. But I'm moving forward with the rest of it on my own and not waiting for that. I just would like that club so that we can make it big. I think it's gonna be successful because it's a Saturday in August in Georgetown regardless. I think we'll have participation. We'll have people. We have Gwinnett doing their beer relay that they, and we can push that as well. I think we're gonna be okay from a participation standpoint. As far as working out the details, with vending, obviously we'll need to circle back and make sure with Rick and John that we're all on the same page as to what vendors need to do to be present, because it's not Strauss Park. Our vending is very specific to Strauss Park, which isn't going to be a thing. So I think we need to look at that and how we write that for vending off-site of our normal vending area and make sure that we're all covered for that. Because we do want vendors here, no, we mostly want local vending is how it was proposed to me, is that we want local vending, whether it's Sunshine Donuts or, you know, the cookie people that were there for Georgetown Days, however that was, and maybe a local food truck that comes up local, not Georgetown specific, but local-ish. But to try to keep it that way and just make sure we have our I's dotted and our T's crossed for that. And we have time to work through that. But that's kind of where I am with that event. Obviously, the rest of my update is already in here, because it was all 4th of July, 4th of July, 4th of July, which is what's been in my brain for the last month. Banners is also on here. Well, first, any questions about banners?
Yes,
Okay, before I move on to banners.
because I'm still confused. My company was gonna offer to be part of, be the sponsor of the license for a beer garden. Where are we on that and how is it written? And I've even given a proposed beer garden space that was discussed at the first meeting. But we have to make our permit within the next week.
We do, and I was told not to broach it by Randy. Until the 4th of July, well, here we are, it's the day after, 2 days after. I will circle back and see where we're at, and maybe with your assistance on that. We would like, the proposal is some type of cantina that is in a closed off portion of Sixth Streets for that event. It wasn't a conversation he was going to have with me until we saw how the 4th of July beer garden transpired. I think we're in a good place.
He didn't wanna have.
With that, and so I'll try to do that today.
This will have to my meeting in front of that, and if we even afford to, well, you said just a second, because we have, last time there was a beer garden there was for the race. And it was, you know, those metal things, I don't even know if we own this, are those the towns, those metal, just dividers, everything like that, right? And then it was just a discussion about more restrooms. We, you know, we insisted in that many people. This is big, it seems like it's a much bigger thing, this is like, it's in my head, I've already booked music, I've already booked all the stuff. But it's, when we're coming up on it, we have 1 meeting before it, or a month, and, you know, a week out. It's very concerning to me that we're netting this.
On the subject of the beer garden, what the space for, what space is it?
So what was proposed to me was a circle, basically, it's exactly where they had it for Slacker,
It will look exactly like Slackers space.
yes.
Which I don't understand why we have to fight so hard sometimes for that. And Slacker does it every year and it's fine. And they maintain it and they keep it in their space and it's never an issue. But and this isn't the question is for Randy, but why do we have to fight so hard to do the same? So essentially replicate what is being done year after year with great success on containment, but that's the proposal.
My other caveat was that it wasn't a single brewery and that it would be both breweries or that participation, do we have buy-in from both breweries?
Yes.
Steve, did you hear that? We have
He's
a
on
beer-
mute.
We have a.
Unmute yourself.
Yep, can you repeat? Sorry.
Yeah, one of the caveats for signing in with the beer garden for me was that both breweries have buy-in, like that was over there at the beer garden on 4th of July for Dog Days of Summer. And then Amanda pointed out that we're sitting right there. We don't have the other, is that something you're interested in being part of? And we're talking about Dog Days, April 13th, August 13th, good God, August 13th. So right here.
I don't know if you can hear.
Yeah, it's, can you repeat it, Jennifer? Because I can hear you fine.
So sorry, the speaker for some reason is not working. He's asking if you're interested in being a vendor for the Dog Days of Summer, which is August 15th. 13th? Okay, someone said the 15th.
I'm sorry, I'm being asked to do what?
If you want to be a vendor, Guanella Pass Brewery at her Dog Days of Summer event.
whose dog days event? I'm sorry.
We'll talk about it offline.
Okay.
Jen said that she.
Jen Jordan is setting up an event that's the Dog Days of Summer with Parker the Snow Dog and whatever else, but she didn't really say. She can talk to you about it later. She'll come talk to you, okay?
Okay, but so is she looking to do a beer garden somewhere in the town? Is that what the ask
Yes.
is?
Yes, on 6th Street. On 6th Street.
We'll chat offline.
You're frozen, so
Going on?
I did. I told him.
Registration and buy-in, I need to know that we have these things resolved by the end of the week or I'm holding.
Jen will come in and talk to you later. Okay?
That means volunteerism. all-
Sorry.
As far as like the beer garden goes, if you want me to assist with communication piece.
No, it's fine, he just replied to me, because I'm not
You don't want to talk
communicating.
about.
Just get it in soon, please, because I'm out July 14th through the 21st, so.
And then I'm gone from 24th to 29th.
Okay, so just do it like,
It's just, I, like I
This
said,
week
you
or-
know, we have to have this resolved by the end of the week or I'm holding my offers.
I will do my best to get that plan out to Randy.
And also, we were relying on Parker the Snow Dog and advertising, so I don't know what it's gonna take, writing every 5 minutes. But that needs to be resolved too, or else I'm going to pull again. I don't want to put something out there that I'm involved in and that several people are involved in. That is not done, we're a month out.
Nor do I want to put my name on it. I guess I'm a little frustrated because I was asked very specifically by a certain group of people to try to pull this off. And I'm doing everything I can on my own to do that,
Sure.
but it was never supposed to be 100% a town event, which it has become.
Well, I
I'm
agree.
okay with that, I'm okay with doing it moving forward and taking that on, but I'm not okay with taking on 100% of the heat when I can't get response from the people that I need to answer me. And I agree with Paul, I'll pull it myself if we don't have these things resolved by the end of the week. If I don't have the sign off from Randy, if I don't have the buy-in from Parker, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do, what is desired of me to do, if I don't feel like it's going to be beneficial to town and a successful event, I'd rather scrap it and try again for next year as well. So I will put the deadline on myself as well, you and I can work through that, and we have, as we have been up to this point, to say that Friday is our deadline, if we do not have the pieces together by Friday, we do it a different day. We already have the beer relay happening that day, and that's gonna be a super fun event. I think town would be great that day, whether we do it or not, but I'd like to try. So let me try to pull out the superpowers that I can to try to get the buy-in back in from the people that want this event to happen and make sure we have all the pieces. So it doesn't look like a half, you know what, type venture. I don't want that either. I've had events that I've tried that maybe perhaps were too soon, planned too quickly, that 90 mile an hour winds aside may not have been the way we want them to be, and I don't want to do that, so I'm with you,
Okay,
all right?
just wanted to know where this went.
It's
Yes.
very nice.
It's up there. We good? We good for banners? My next favorite topic of banners are all moving forward, the process is there, we just need the higher definition resolution files from Kyle, who's kind of been off the grid for a few weeks. He has everything he needs from the Ink Monster to get them what they need, and then we just need to print them. That's where we're at with banners, we know we're going with Ink Monster, they know they can do it, we know how we're gonna kind of enhance the artwork on some of those banners that need it to make it a little more distinct. And they just need some higher resolution files that Amanda and I cannot make appear from what we have. They have what we have, and they're working with that, but they need a few more
There's like 15 miles.
they need. So I'm just waiting on that, that's where we're at with banners. I'm hoping they'll be printing by the next time we have this conversation.
I did a large format banner with a monster for the recreation. Stage to look at it, like what was for, they were my quality, not Kyle quality. I think we did a marvelous job and I'm thrilled with it to
And quite frankly, just to back up on banners of all kinds, I thought that the Gary's person who on the fly printed that Fourth of July banner under the Georgetown sign did a really nice job as well for the price that we paid for it. Next year, I don't want it double sided, I want a few more things, but I thought for what it is that it turned out really nicely and hung beautifully, it is not moved. I mean, it has stayed with the winds and the weather, it has stayed and it is not moved, so I'm happy to have them as a resource as well. Yeah.
We need more of the banners.
No, it looked really good. Go ahead.
Just anything else from my updates, I am working pretty hard on Christmas decorations for town, inventorying up on Saxon Mountain what we have, pulling together a subcommittee, for just general opinion on what Christmas decoration, what people are looking for. We got a bid from the same company that does Idaho Springs and does the Loop. We decided not to go that direction.
Is it $1 million?
Right. $10 million.
Mhm.
And we really feel like we can do it as a town on our own. Obviously, we need to replace, and I'm working on doing that really quickly because we obviously, Christmas in July, we obviously need to put those orders in now if we're gonna have new decorations by Christmas. So that's just a sub thing that I'm working on, aside to all the other things.
Maybe try and make it consistent, so we don't have yellowish and bluish lights and color light, you know, we're trying to make it, so trying to figure out what needs to be replaced, we're not gonna replace everything, we can't afford it. So we're trying to, do winds, where can we have good winds, and then next year we can build, but we don't have a huge budget, so we're trying to be the most responsible for that.
So it was good. The one was all those kids' ornaments that went on the trees at Blackbird Park.
That are, on the floor, that we're using to, well, grill. I don't know, I'll find out. There was a
Library, because there's like to be library.
Okay. There was a treasure trove of things in that Saxon Mountain storage that I did not know were there. 40 John Denver signs, where I was told there was only 2 ever in existence. Some trade show type, awesome town banners, just a million things that I can utilize now that I know they're there. And I'm super excited to have found, it's like, again, Christmas in July for me. Of things that we can use around town that are gonna be really awesome, that I had no idea were there and now have access to, so. That is that, and that's all I have.
That's excuse myself, I got a project around.
You're good, you're
Yeah.
I'll be your neighbor soon. I said, I'll be your neighbor soon.
Oh,
No, as long as you come here and see, we're still fine. So we just have to make sure Steve can hear it. I don't think we have anything. As
Thank
far
you.
as dockets, I will help you out with the licensing fees that's needed and just let us know. I appreciate it. I don't really have anything for chili cook-off. Justin's not here, so we'll table that till the next meeting.
I did have a meeting with Jamie on Chile, if you want me to give that super fast update. She's obviously planning for no Strauss Park for Chile, so the proposal is to put it in front of Strauss Park on 3.
To
So
close the
we
street.
block the street with a big giant fence. And then it'll run exactly the same way, it's just gonna be moved out of the park and out of the street under a fence. That's the proposal, that's what she's looking into. I'm not any farther than that, but that's
What day is this?
What street too?
October 9th, and that would be Rose between 5th and 6th.
Rose.
I mean, that's a big,
You're gonna get pushback.
Guanella Pass.
For sure, I'm just telling you.
That's a big leaf day,
That's
so
what
people,
Jamie asked for, but we obviously-
I'm just saying, you might wanna,
We can shift it, it's just the proposal.
It's-
well, I mean, good thing we're talking about it, yeah.
We probably need to circle back with Jamie on where she wants it, because that's not,
No.
we can't close.
Will there be alcohol served?
There is.
Okay,
she does-
who's sponsoring the permit?
She gets it, community center did it
Community
last
center.
year.
Yeah.
So, 'cause she's pulled permit for it.
Yeah.
2 years in a
I just
row.
want to make sure.
So quickly, since we're all here, we're talking about it, what's the best proposal to circle back to her and say, it's not gonna work, try this, propose this area. I just wanna give her a. Yeah.
Why does it have to be Strauss Park? Could it be City Park or Whirlwind Park or another
Well, I wanted to keep
location?
it in town. They get a lot of town traffic.
Just a night, I'm just thinking.
No.
Yeah, you're good. I know she wants it to be, at least an option.
What about parking lot?
That was actually the exact, as a potential.
What are you guys talking about? You guys,
What about your part, about the parking lot?
Like, if, yeah, if we could have a letter from the organizer, or representative of this event to the names asking for the use of the lot in this way and the date and times. Just like before, I could, you'll get a letter back saying, this use, and, we never get that.
Okay, I'm just gonna shoot that back to her as a proposal and then.
So it's the timeline is 30 days in advance, and of course, we need some response time in addition to those 30 days.
Well, luckily, we're October 9th for this
Yeah,
one, so
right.
we've got a little time.
Let's
Closest street for it last year, no?
No,
No.
actually, I feel like Randy wanted the street closed in exactly what I'm talking about, but we reserved the right to not if it seemed okay. He's always concerned about people spilling into the street when
For
things
sure.
happen.
Just that one.
Whenever we find out what the location is. gonna be,
Yeah.
Or we start closing streets that we don't need.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's a bad.
And if it's in the parking lot, we're all right, we don't, I mean, a really big space and stuff, right,
You
yeah.
just security and you have to, you need to yell there in case that's.
Which is what we did in the Strauss Park also. You know, we had the barricades around and we had people at
Yeah,
every
perfect.
opening of those because there
You
wasn't a
have
problem.
that's been created.
I think we sit open, it is Strauss Park. It's supposed to be finished. Well, because it has something to do with the sheep festival too.
Yeah.
That's kind of.
We should discuss that too then. Or figure out where to go, but I mean, it's relying on that corner.
I mean,
She
I'm
was
sorry
supposed
that
to
board.
order to close the road.
We've never done that, but yeah.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I'm so sorry, it just occurred to me.
No,
That's
you're
turning
fine.
out to-
I mean, I don't know if we have that on the, even on this, or we could just make it part of my update. Strauss Park, I'm part of that advisory board.
Yeah,
Things are stalled for many reasons. Rick and I are gonna meet with Bob to go over that just on our own, aside from the advisory board. What I would tell you in my best optimism, it will not be done by June.
okay, so we'll just address that at the next sheep festival,
Yeah.
it's no big deal.
This is the comment that was
So
so,
hotel repairs, parking lot.
Yeah, we'll figure something out, we'll address that at the next one, and just kind of
Yes.
like,
and that's, I mean, at the last sheet meeting, I was more optimistic than I am today that that's gonna happen. And as far as Christmas market goes, I don't know. The stalls will be built, whether they have heat and electricity for Christmas market is 50-50, but Mary knows I'm sort of planning for that in advance. But that's, the last update from Bob that I got was the stalls will be done. I don't know that they'll have electricity and power.
can we send it around the library, it's that too.
So,
I'll
yes,
address that in my HDI piece if we have time.
We're gonna get there, and
No
we're gonna speed it up.
yeah,
We've got stuff to
okay.
through. Rick, I'll let you take, the proposed lodging tax obviously is stalled as well. Rick, did you get any update from Jerry?
His comment, just to let you guys know, we were in a meeting, Amanda happened to show up when we were talking and we brought up lodging tax. The assistant city administrator from Idaho Springs says, I don't know if you guys have that authority, because there was a law passed.
In April.
And this, you guys, because we're a territorial charter doesn't necessarily mean we can do this, but it doesn't necessarily mean we can't do this. And this is what Jerry Dahl told us. He said, I'm not aware that it would actually exclude you from this, but let me do some research. And so he's gone through CML, the courts and looking these laws passed. He's not found anything that would hinder. It seems mostly was centered around county and what their proposals and allowances are, but I'm real shy for us to even pursue something, if we can't do something.
What law was passed?
In April, there was a law passed at the state level, regarding, lodging taxes and how municipalities and counties can, divert the funds. And up to 90% of the funds can now be diverted to other uses within municipality or county.
Which was one of my questions during that, because does it preclude us from any kind of counties? Because there are certain tax districts that are created for towns that make themselves into a special tax district in order to do this. And there are a couple of resort towns that looked into it to do this before I answer my question.
Another question though that we had from our meeting, and we're gonna follow up with Jerry, I would like to have answer to is if we could incorporate a flat fee per
An
access
access.
hours, exactly. And so not maybe a tax per se, but you know,
There's language within this, law that basically requires you to be a home rule district, and we are not a home rule district.
but we are this territorial
Charter
charter that
that
puts us into a whole different category.
We're not home rule.
Because that's what
That's why we needed direction from Jerry.
But again, I wanna make a strong statement about this, everything that we've heard from Kelly earlier, what we know from Randy, and all of these, this wish list, dream list idea that we have to make events happen in this town are not gonna be covered by grants alone to update our communication equipment. And if we don't find an alternative fund, more money to fund this, then, you know, and yes, you know, events are getting more, you know, attended, more well attended, we're having more issues with it, there aren't volunteers, whether we're increasing our fees for some things that aren't gonna happen. And if we don't get a lodging tax passed, even if we put it before the people and it's denied, we need to find alternative funding. And so with all the questions and we need our treasurer to get on board, you know, and see what and propose to us, offer to us, how we can look at that financial picture. Because this isn't cutting it, and the board of selectmen can only come up with so many things, you know, to approve, but we need answers to put before them.
Well, and to your point earlier about the events, that the reason we have extra money is because Georgetown Days was paid for out of pocket by my husband and myself. We spent every dime for Georgetown Days was funded in our
I believe that.
So that's why we have extra funds, because I didn't take any of that budget.
See, that's cool.
No, it's not.
But in the overall scheme of things, and thank you so much to Coopers for doing that, the couple extra $1,000 is not enough to fund everything.
Doesn't drop in the bucket.
Exactly, so
It's not.
So,
Sorry, I'm very
No, that's
salty
okay.
about the funding thing today, and I know I'm wearing it on my face.
no,
My face is very, very crowded on this.
there are things you have to propose, there are things you have to do, and whether or not you're funded is a whole different thing, and that's what my whole point is with some of these things that we're talking about now is, can we even afford to do this? And also, I hope that wasn't in kind, I hope that was completely a direct donation in a different way, because you should be able to get a tax credit for it. It's the very least.
Right,
Business write-up.
from my standpoint, I'm not spending, or for events, I'm conditioned to spend nothing. And to do whatever I possibly can to not spend the money, even when we have it, I'm trying to turn that around a little bit, because we do have it and we need to use it. But it's been sort of indoctrinated into me from the beginning, not by anyone's fault, that do as much as we can, and we always will do as much as we can organically, but we do have money and we do need to use it, and we certainly could do 1,000 more things with more. I mean, our marketing and efforts could be completely different than they are right now.
But that doesn't include the infrastructure of golf carts being available or rented
Right.
or extra signage, and it doesn't offset that. That, you're talking the advertising and media, doesn't talk additional people, it doesn't talk about, you know, perhaps paying for the fire department, so, yeah, I
That's
don't
it.
know, I.
But also, no, but this is my point with the last thing we were just talking about, if we're trying to scramble to do an event that's gonna cost money, and certainly the music portion of it's coming out of some of our areas money for us, so that's a whole different thing. But it's also, is somebody gonna be sitting there listening to it, and I'm getting a DJ up here who's gonna have 3 people dancing for him with him, because that's mortifying to me. And then I don't know to what level I can be part of that, and if we're gonna do that, would that money not be better spent, but toward walkie-talkie systems or whatever the heck it is, that's at a good level, that's where I'm coming with this, and
And I appreciate
you know,
that.
infrastructure is vital to doing the next step of it, right? And I know that we've.
Well, I think what we have to refocus the effort on though is what everyone agrees that we have a money problem. And I think one of the things that I was extremely frustrated by in the kind of the way the conversation turned at the last meeting was everyone's like, well, we all know we're poor, but it's not my problem. And I had people after the work session call me and say, I heard about your work session. You just need to tell the board of selectmen they need to give you another $70,000. Legitimately, someone said this to me. And I was like, you tell the board of selectmen to give us another $70,000.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's not possible. I mean, if there was some type of well of money that we could draw from, this would not even be on the table. Why would municipality insist on an additional tax on anybody if the money existed? Everyone wants the problem solved, but no one wants to solve the problem. And that's why I completely shut down in the last meeting, because I was so frustrated. And I feel like if we're going to have a productive conversation, everyone has to accept the fact that there's gonna be sacrifices to be made to improve our tourism infrastructure. And what that looks like may not be ideal for everyone in the room. But if this group is going to continue to be successful, the conversation has to be focused and not negative and not a me problem, but an us problem. Thank you.
First part of it though is, can we be legal? That's our first question, and that was my first question last meeting, because of the appraisal
This
of the April, because I brought this up the last year, it's.
the home rule angle was an unknown angle.
Well, somebody was pointing out in a tourism meeting, and that's why I brought up, like, can we do this, do we like put ourselves out of certain funding? How do we do that, and that's why I thought Jerry was there.
Jerry confirmed that we could do it, but he himself was not aware of what.
He has been moving in the direction that this has been, we can do this entire time. Until I proposed and said, can you double check, because I'm not sure, I heard from others that this may only apply to this specific rule. And he was like, but it was a curveball for him to do.
No, as I heard from others in the tourism industry, and that's why I'm curious. But
The county's also dealing with their own. A lodging tax is not the obvious, easy solution. It maybe needs to be an excise tax,
yes,
maybe it needs to be a different angle. Maybe it needs to be something more concrete, like $1 a night, that would be an excise tax, excuse me. Maybe it needs to be a totally different, maybe a double business license fees.
I have no problem with that.
I'm using that as a previous example. But at the end of the day, we need additional funding, and that's a given. And so, but for now, Jerry has to work on it, and the conversation.
Yeah, and as soon as I get word, I will make sure you guys know.
So probably, but we all agree nothing's gonna happen in November, so regardless, we're not with that. If anything does happen, then that's for the ballot, and we will.
Let's keep it on the agenda for next month so that we don't. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, it's always gonna be until we come up with a solution, so.
Do we know what other fees are for, sorry,
No, you're right.
do we? Because I find, like last time meeting, I brought up, I'm finding that we're increasing, let's say, business license tax, we don't know last time we were. Licenses, we're looking at doing paying our own anyway, changing it for the nonprofits, all that we can do, it's not very much money, but what is everybody else charging for their business licenses? What is everybody else charging as a fee that goes into? Most towns, I know a lot of towns have chambers, they have different ways of operating, I know that the only thing that we have is a visitor center, well, we have 2, we have 1 visitor center that operates with people, but it's not covered by anything from the town at all. Except for, you know, a pass-through agreement for something else that's not for the visitation component of it, it's for the restaurant component of it. What, you know, because we don't have a chamber, we don't have those things, and why are our business licenses, you know, are our fees lower than everybody else's? So it's the same. Do we know? And I know that small business are a big thing, I get that, I understand, I completely understand that.
That was brings us $75.
Okay, there we go,
And 480.
okay.
What some of the towns there would be, I know it's definitely more.
Well, I was fixing this for, they pay for a chamber, and they're paying for that new thing on their own too,
So they're getting their funding in different ways.
yeah, and the county focuses heavily on Idaho Springs during advertising.
But that's the data that we need to have in front of us and not just, and I agree with you about increasing fees, I think the fees at least cover the expenses of, you know, what's being offered. You know, and the time involved in the processing of things.
And then that's the conversation, like, if they wanna do away with this, because they don't wanna pay the fees for it, it's businesses who are, this is genuine, I'm not being sarcastic here, if that's what they say, that we can't afford these fees, they're too much, well, then do you want promotion for your businesses, because that's where we are. We're back to where, I think this happened again in the early 2000s or something like that, where they tried a chamber for a minute, and it didn't work, you know?
Because no one would pay for it.
But I will tell you that, you know, operating a visitor center and bring my job into it, which I don't know that
Go ahead.
I will say this, over the years, it's been a very good thing learning with a lot of things to say about how I conduct that. And how we advertise to what we're doing, how we're trying to do things like that. And my answer always is, how much do you think you're contributing to this? Because the answer is zero. And so if you want to give me a volunteer that shills for your business, go for it. If you want to put your brochure in here to do something for yourself, go for it. But then the reaction from that is zero.
Yeah.
And so we do it again and again and again, and that's why the frustration with you on that section of it, because all I'm asking actually is just a little input, like throw something in here for us, and we'll help you do everything you want. Tell me that you're gonna be closed on Thursday. I'll make sure you're closed. Tell me that you got a special running. My people will talk about that. But, so how do we get, back to that, but how do we get that involved in here? But if you don't wanna raise your fee, because we're gonna do a curiosity raise, if you don't wanna raise your fee, then do you really want a promotion submission? Do you? You know, if we're gonna have another mixer, which I would love to have, because I think the information needs to go out there, and we have new people in business here. If we're gonna do that, and you're not gonna show up for it, then what's the point? Now, I think that's where, you know, like you're focusing on, because if we can't raise money in some way that everybody wants to just throw resistance at us rather than throwing a solution to us, then I think that's, you've made your decision, you don't want it. As a community, you want something else, and maybe that's the answer. I hope that's not the answer, I certainly hope it's not the answer, it's first, you know, but. You know.
To backtrack just a little bit, if we decide to increase business license fees or even expand them to require them of nonprofits, I think we can make a good case because we have such a great track record with our scorecard at the end of the year. And so when that discussion happens, we need to include that component that we have a great track record that's solid and show them what that looks like.
Yeah.
And you guys
Create
get-
value.
You guys get $181 from all of the brick and mortar businesses each, yeah, so.
Breckenridge is $200 plus $10 per employee.
So
that's-
Breckenridge.
I do not know the seasonal encroachment.
So Bragg gets a portion of what, of also lodging tax, and they probably get a portion of sales
Brett
tax as
has a
well.
very, I mean, we have general fund,
Yeah, we have some general fund, we have general fund support, which fluctuates within
Yes.
the year.
so,
And it's not as low as 0 or 1, very small percentage before, because that's what was given to us in the last meeting.
okay. On the subject of a business mixer that we have no money to pay for,
Oh, that would be, I would do it.
would you do it?
Yeah, I'll find someone to help us with that, I'll consider it as advertising for the workspace and.
What day do
Or
you
the work
want
that we
to
do.
talk about the mixer? I think it should be post summer.
At the Heritage Center?
Yeah.
Okay.
This should be called the old school by then.
The old, okay.
I get my, if I get my-
But for now,
It's still real.
It's literally the old school, it was voted on, but we just call it, so. So the sign out there.
But we don't have a date yet, right?
No, what day are you gonna do?
Do you guys wanna do it in October? So just to get it on my calendar.
September, October,
I
September,
think it should be past the leaf season, honestly.
oh, that's right, leaf season.
Agreed, October.
Before, not Halloween weekend, kind of a deal.
Like the weekend before is Monster Lobster.
Monster.
Monster Lobster.
What day is Monster Lobster?
Where's that?
What if we did it on October 19th, which is a Wednesday?
Yeah, we usually have been on weekdays, maybe that's why the
I just passed this.
attendance is so low.
You can do it on weekend?
But we do a weekend, that'll be worse, so, no, I think a Wednesday or a Thursday.
October 19th is Wednesday, October 20th is Thursday. Yeah, everyone's closed on Wednesdays apparently. Who does that?
People can know what their slowest day is.
Oh, we're talking about later in the afternoon after businesses close anyway, right?
It'd be like an early evening thing.
So what's the date? What are we proposing? 10/19, is that Wednesday?
October 19th.
Or the old school?
At the old school. Okay.
We have had speakers in the past, or representatives in the past, including guests like Cass Patton spoke with good. But I think I propose that we take this on ourselves and, I don't think we should say everything's going great. I think we should be honest. I think they need to be informed because it doesn't appear that they're present. So I think some of the things that we discussed today are key points that day. And challenge people to get involved in some way, shape, or form. I think it needs to be the state of the nation at this point, not how great things are going, but what
Hopefully we
our
get some
needs are.
folks out there too, that wanna participate and help, shape the next
Yeah.
steps.
So are we gonna make from 6 to 8?
Let's do it from 5 to 7.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Can we at least, my thought, I mean, I hear everyone, since I'm just an observer in this part, but I've been, just like you guys, I've been other places. And, it reminds me of something that happened 12 years ago when I was in a group. And, it's kind of contentious in here. And we're all friends, we all have the same goals and visions. And I would love to see us love each other a little bit more. But my point is this, I remember going to a neighborhood association. And all they talked about was how bad it was. And they, and I get it, we have lack of time, we have lack of things, but in this upcoming meeting, I'm thinking, if I was a business owner and I came in and I heard this, I would walk away. Because I hear, that's not gonna attract me to want to be involved, I want to be inspired. I want to be part of something exciting. And so, but my analogy would be this, this is what I told you guys back then in the situation, but it was, they were talking how bad it's an example, the restaurants, it's crappy, it's the walls are awful, the decorations are terrible, it's on the back side of the building, no one cares, it's disgusting, and everyone complains about how bad it is. But what if you could find the beauty in that restaurant that was so beautiful? It was like a one of a kind, and it's unique, it's got a certain dish, and then you sold that. You sold it like the beauty of it, and said, everyone knows how bad it is. And I guess I would love to see us be inspired here. Yes, we can do a State of the Union, explain needs, here's our issues, but here's what I'm gonna call us to. Call us to something that would be inspiring, that businesses would say, I'm willing to stay a little longer because of this or something, but that's just my thought.
No, but that's a good point, we do need to give people a reason to want to participate without telling them.
Positive goals.
Yes. Just inspiring.
By the way, thank you for that. I think that you should know that it may sound contentious right now because you've been in a couple meetings where we have contentious topics. But everybody at this table is actually a friend.
Yeah.
And also you have the biggest boosters in the town sitting right here.
I know.
And we're the people who do nothing but go out and talk about how fabulous this town is, even when it's hurting us personally, and people were yelling to these people all weekend when they were doing something wonderful, and so that we're gonna be on edge today. Yeah, I hear all the negative stuff too, and I'm like, do you realize that 2 people just ran up and down the street doing this and saving lives? So you're getting our first meeting after that, we're getting another meeting, we're gonna talk about raising the prices on somebody who happens to be working for a friend of ours.
Right.
Also, because we have to be very careful about not having meetings in certain ways,
Right.
being friends, so I take what you're saying to heart, because it's part of what I do as a whole my whole life. But at the same time, you're getting us at the moment where we're talking about the realities of what we're doing. And how are we going to convey to the people that are coming to us that this is all lovely, we're doing all this stuff, but you need to participate, otherwise it's not gonna happen anymore. That's where I am with that, and I think some of those reality checks are necessary.
We can definitely, we can shape the conversation. I'm honestly not in the mindset for that today. But I know that I will get to the mindset that we can make this a productive and positive conversation for this event to be meaningful and impactful without being, Pollyanna, going through what's going on.
Which goes
Like I
back,
said, the union.
which goes back to the vision statement. Every activity that we create and execute needs to support the vision. Otherwise, we could use the vision as a shield if somebody brings an idea forward. And if it doesn't fulfill what our goals are, then we respectfully decline and they can either do it themselves, take it to another group, but vision is very, very important.
So to that point, you had asked me to pull the mission statement back on the agenda, so the mission statement kind of went away.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like we had a lot of momentum on
Can we
it,
print
so.
it, can we get somebody get that? towards-
Do I have
I
it?
don't have
I don't have
We
one.
have what we were working on, because I edited it.
Yeah.
If you send it to me, I'll put it on there.
Do you have like edited one? Yeah, because we could start there and it needs to be agreed upon, I would say voted on. But it'd be nice to have it in front of us each time so that we can ruminate on it. Yeah, that's what I do at the museum, I have the mission statement on every agenda so that people all know what it is we're trying to get done.
Yours is short.
Mine is very-
Well, and then we can tweak it as we go.
That's right, and they're organic, you can change them as your goals change.
Messenger.
What is it? Do you have it, Mary?
No, look.
Mine's like 2 giant paragraphs.
Yeah.
I thought you were looking at it.
Oh, no.
Oh.
No, mine's illegal.
Yes.
Completely illegal. No, like my mission statement at work, because we're 501(c)(3), which is different than this, is a legal use thing. It's long. That's why you have that thing that I snippet that we do. But it's super long because it has to cover all the components of who we are. You guys are you see what it is.
Yeah, we.
So this is what you had wrote, this, it was actually a year ago at this meeting today.
There we go.
Assist in expanding Georgetown business license holders, brands or advertising, a website and social media, wait, maybe that's not. Wait, that sounds, yeah, no, maybe that was it. I feel like it was more profound.
Okay, I might be able to find.
Okay.
Find it, yeah.
This is different. This is totally different than this one.
That's
The
right.
Georgetown. The Georgetown Business Promotions Commission is a volunteer organization that operates as a public board in the town of Georgetown. The commission exists to serve the business license holders and nonprofits of Georgetown, Colorado. Our mission is to enhance the visitor experience and economic climate of our community through direct support via online direct marketing, event planning, business outreach, community relations, and historic preservations. We strive to ensure every business license holder has the tools to operate successfully, and every visitor lives with an amazing Georgetown. That was great.
Sounds like we.
That's our.
I agree with everything, and I think we've done everything on there, but maybe it's too much, maybe we're doing too much.
Wordy.
So I think we are to editing points.
That's the gist, now we can.
Yeah, I'm actually quite proud of that.
Yeah, that would be great.
But you kind of want that checklist, just like, just as.
Yeah, we could roll it or
References so
something.
that, and you have to thumbs up, does it fit?
I wrote that?
Yeah.
Oh,
It's like doing an event check sheet to make sure that it was against what you're trying to do.
Yeah,
okay.
Okay, next meeting.
All right, so Jen's gonna send that and we'll edit it and, that was,
Kevin's gonna send it out and then I'll send it out. I don't have it. Right?
I can, I
I'm
think the one I
sending it
have
to you
sounds
now,
like the
I mean,
first
it's,
one.
I just replied to all that it was originally on. I'll have it.
Yeah,
One point, it was sent to everybody, but.
So the two of you are gonna get, work
We will
together
work
and then send it out to you.
Okay.
Oh, Rick, I don't know.
Streetlight update, sorry, streetlights.
Streetlights. Who's gonna shine light on this topic?
Rick,
I have nothing to do.
are you reprised to the streetlight update, the streetlight issue? I forget if you know that.
Yes, I've reached out to Excel multiple times. I've had a meeting with Scooter, about a lights form. The person that was working with Kent and Steve Robbie is not there anymore, there's a new person with Excel. The last thing that they said to me was, we need to have an updated inventory list with all the pole numbers on it, so that they can keep track that way of which is theirs, maintenance and so forth. It's one of those things where, the most urgent thing rises, and at the time, a month ago, or a month and a half ago, that was really important, so I reached out and then I got shuffled into those things, so I can circle back on it, and, it seems like I remember somebody, Steve or Kent or Tom, had a list that we probably need to look at and just update, to see if that's still current.
I know Steve Robbie had a list, right?
Yeah, and the last I recall that he had some success in the communication with Excel. Of course, that was probably the person prior,
Right.
perhaps if we could just share that.
Does the two have a contract with Excel or vice versa? Because Steve is the one who taught me the term O&M, operation and maintenance, and he indicated that Excel is in charge of operation and maintenance of those lights. And so is there any sort of memorandum of understanding or contract that we can maybe get Jerry involved in at this point? It's been years, folks.
Maybe talk to Cindy, like, because I think she was integral in bringing those lights.
She
in.
brought the lights in, yes.
Using the historic light itself to make it happen, so maybe she would be the one that would know, and I may even in my own files have the files, the original, copies of the original files from that, so I never brought that up, I'm sorry.
But, you know, I understand, personnel changes and turnover, but that does not exempt a memorandum of understanding or a contract, and that doesn't make it moot. It still applies, and so, I really hate that, you know, months later, years later, I'm still talking about this, it's very frustrating.
Didn't you do an inventory list?
Yeah, yes, but not with the poll numbers, poll numbers are
Oh.
on there. It seems to me that should be in a file already, and I don't see why that would be put on the town, I feel sorry for the town. Excel doesn't know what they own, they don't know where their lights are, well, no wonder they're not taking care of them. Send an Excel guy out here to do that inventory, that is not fair to this town. It's their stuff,
If we
you
can.
can't tell me you're not making money.
I don't think I would.
It's not a funding issue, it's, they don't care.
But if it takes our list and our manpower to get this ball rolling again.
Well, we need to ask them, are you going to do that, yes or no? When can I expect that? We don't have the manpower, we'll go out and do it. I'll do it on my golf cart with the board and everything. But that
Let's
is,
check.
I would do that, and I would do that because
Well,
they're giant corporations, we all
but
know
they haven't
that.
listened to me in the past.
But just
I
at
doubt
least get
them
them.
as a citizen and as a customer, and they have ignored me, so I don't wanna go out with a clipboard and do it again. I have to admit, I won't do it because I tried and nothing happened.
That's how.
Don't do that, because you don't need that, you're correct, you should not have to do that. It's super frustrating, because we've been dealing with this for a very long time.
Years.
And I think that maybe, Rick, for your efforts deploying Cindy Neely is a good idea, because she has a really good relationship with getting these types of, like, she has like channels, and she's kind of magic, honestly, I don't know, it's like, she's incredible. And she also is on town's like payroll as like a consultant.
Yeah.
So she carries more clout than volunteers.
Yeah.
And so it would be helpful to maybe get her involved and let us know how we can support you to help get this, like, if it does take us to an inventory. But I feel pretty strongly the inventory exists, and so before is that okay for you to start, for her to kind of take that on?
Yeah,
See what
Cindy
she-
and I have already been discussing
Yeah.
it, so she and we've talked about it, she's, Excel and I right now are, in other discussions because of them ignoring us as well from going ahead and doing work on water, that's in our watershed protection district. So I basically have stopped all actions from them and they're not liking me at this point.
Yeah, but we can be adversarial, we do this with CDOT all the time, and I can chat with Cindy as well. We can be adversarial, or we can be, you know, opponents and disagree on one point and then work together on the other point. We do it constantly,
And there's
CDOT is a
different
big
divisions
partner.
as well.
Yeah, there are different
So-
divisions and stuff, and I know exactly what you're talking about, because I'm on the side of that. Because it's a 106 process, it's gonna have to go into that. And, but I'll talk to Cindy too and see if she has any interest in it, and then she can help you with, we're over here trying to tell you we wanna do this, and we're over here asking you for this at the same time. It's a trick, but like she said, she's magic, she knows everything,
She really does,
so we'll figure it out.
like, I'm pretty sure that.
I'm sorry, I
she
haven't
can
reached out
follow
about
it,
it before.
Mhm.
So just let us know how we can support that, and we'll probably keep it on the agenda because it's been, it's very hot button, as we can tell, not just for this commission, but for a lot of Sixth Street business owners. It irritates them when they're working really hard and trying to have their hearts work so specific about the aesthetics,
Mhm.
and they feel like they don't get that reciprocal thing, so that's why it's so contentious. But we appreciate your help, and just let us know how we can help you.
Welcome to your new job, Roberto.
It's only the second thing I've thrown. Brochure
Yeah, I appreciate it.
distribution,
I mean, this means more from this group than it does from outside.
Jen mailed the brochures to where they need to go.
Yay,
Yeah, it's
to
That happened like-
all the state visitors and.
So let's do that.
Yeah, that was
Thank
like,
you very much.
like,
How can I get something?
before the last meeting, so yeah.
How can I get something to start on?
Okay,
Can I get staff about 100 from you?
absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
Maintenance repair of current wayfinding signage intersections of Argentine 11, Argentine 6. Another hot button.
Yeah, they've been hit by cars or snow plows or something, you know, their signs take to them for a lost dog. Yeah, so in the years that I've been on business promotions, these predate me, so I don't know if business promotions put those up if we have any interest in them. But from a maintenance and repair standpoint, they're pretty beat up, and especially the one at Sixth and Argentina, it's a mess.
I think we also need to, and this came up in the last discussion with the banners, and it's separate, it's not included in the concert bid. But we need to have them reprint the banners that say historic downtown this way, because it's double sided.
Right.
Oh. Less.
And then our next one, yes, we please.
So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you're-
When you're leaving
when you're
town,
leaving,
so-
historic downtown.
Yeah, good to know.
They just come there.
So I would also include that in this
Okay.
conversation.
Yeah,
That's a separate from
Yeah.
intersection.
so do we know who, it seems like it would have been through business promotions, but maybe not, because there was a separate roundabout committee, you know, sometimes there are separate committees. for
Mark was
special
involved
projects.
around.
Yeah, but these are way before,
Yeah,
but the roundabout committee, I think, had that big sign that's on Paul's property fabricated by the same people who did the smaller signs.
that was just Cindy Neal, you know.
It was, I think I have information about that.
Yay, Paul, vote.
So if someone can find out who did it, and then we can just.
Who's sort of, you know.
Well, it's Cindy Signs.
The contact person.
Cindy Signs did it.
House of Signs.
Usually it's Cindy for those big fabulous ones, isn't it?
House of Signs,
Yeah, that sounds right.
because House of Signs did our sign at the restaurant.
Oh, they did
And
yours.
that's- Yeah, and that, they
There's
do.
gotta be a
So just it's-
plate down
it's-
that says who's.
Yeah,
So is that us or is that you? Like,
It would probably be town
That's
budget.
the town.
budget? Okay. So reach out to, what's the name of it?
either House of Signs or Zingy Signs.
But she's adamant that it's house to that, and I'll look and see if I have those are becoming very wall.
Yeah, if you can find any contractors, I'll reach out and call. It's.
Mary might know, we can ask Kristen,
Yes.
she might know.
Oh, yeah, because I wrote that check on December 3rd.
So we just need them to come out and fix the sign.
They just come in and be, I think the one honestly needs to just get redone.
Does anything need to be
Which one's
added
that?
to
One, six.
Now would be,
Exactly.
I think six.
so I guess I'll go look at it.
Like, I don't
Give
mind.
some suggestions.
Yes, I would recommend that.
Six and brown, I
Second.
don't know.
Yeah.
We're talking about the one that's near the post office box, right?
That's right.
Correct. So there's two sets of wayfinding.
Cause I've seen that one today, because Kelly, he showed that to me.
Yeah.
Let's talk,
Yeah, yeah, there's.
So
How did you do that?
It's really hard.
Sixth and Brownell, Argentine, technically Brownell. He's correct.
He is.
Probably just needs to get redone completely, like that's the one that's got the most damage on it, it's not really a repair thing. And it might be time to think that maybe we should make it like bigger, I don't know if that would go to DRC at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would.
Indeed.
I think Sursa would also have some say in it, because at one point they were telling us our street signs needed to have a different component or reflective or whatever, so.
These are-
No, I understand that,
Let's start going,
but this is a couple of years ago that this came up, you know, in one of our conversations at the board meeting with all of our street signs, and it's like, oh, we're not gonna be storing street signs. But on the other hand, there's,
There's not gonna play.
exactly, so.
But we could probably work with the sign companies, get the same aesthetic with the same, with the necessary, they've probably done this before with UG.
But I would just assume the sign companies, and, no, we need to get them to specs.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
not
what
do a half-assed job, and yes, I'm saying half-assed.
That's okay.
Can you put that in this?
Yeah,
That's what I mean, is like sometimes we just push it out to do it, and we're not doing it right, so something else, that's fine.
So, on the subject of this, does BPC need to go to the selectmen and say, hey, we need to redo these signs? Or is that
Can't it
something, can it just be,
Can't you just do it?
Right, no, yeah.
I mean, sure.
I think on that, Josh, like, what do you think there should be something else that should be on?
Yeah, I think that's where I need direction from.
DRC is gonna wanna see it.
Yeah, is
And
there,
then DRC once we decide what we're doing, right?
DRC might be designed for us, but they will,
they want to redesign?
but we just need to, is there a group that can be part of that and say, this is what the sign needs to say?
That would probably be us saying what needs the sign needs to say.
Yeah.
Once we get the go ahead, then let's start looking at
Perhaps
stuff.
our road and bridge though could do the basic footwork of just looking at the darn sign and saying, oh, it's House of Signs or wherever, as
Yeah.
opposed to,
All this like looking at walls.
you know,
Sure.
kind of, and so everyone has their part and then we pull this all together.
Well, Mary Sims might have like the, you know, the billing, yeah.
Correct, she may have.
Is the Argentine 11th sign, why can I, is it just,
Oh, yeah. Is it too short? Did
I
you?
think it's in better shape than this one.
it's
but-
in much better shape, that's why I'm trying to picture what the issue.
I thought Scott was gonna test it, was the last I talked to him about it, and make sure a truck could go underneath it. I think that was the whole thing.
The Burgundy green Creed signs.
And those were created during. the-
Okay, I'm picturing the one at 11th that goes over the street.
Yeah, that's not this one.
And those are part of the gateway.
They're right there together, but we're talking about the shorter route
Gotcha.
to the side of the road.
But what is up with that sign, since we're on the topic? I mean,
That's what.
we spent a lot of money
It's
on
the one
that.
by turnaround, what is that called? Park?
It's where the fork, it's where the fork is up to the trees.
Yeah, that was part of,
Really?
that was part of the, sweet thing, and actually it was part of the, gateway project, that was included the city out.
Oh, what
That
thing?
Lily's
Jules?
project. She got the money, and it's also the extension of which is part of that $1 million or whatever that was recently done.
Yeah.
So that actually, some of those funds, if there's extra funds left over that's allocated to, you she'll know better on this, but if we have leftover funds allocated toward the gateway project from the extension of the road portion, we might be able to use those funds to fix these signs.
So you realize that project isn't going to even, you have to start to see it until probably 2022. So that we have a time frame. We know this isn't gonna happen next month.
Yeah, well, the most important one is the one there, but, you know, like,
It's 10:06, so I wanna do one
I have people ready.
Okay, so I just wanna clarify, I will talk with Scooter and Mary to find out who actually made the sign. Just keep me posted when you guys meet, if you want updates for the work, because I can get the company to come in and see if it's salvageable. If they can just fix it and make it, but I know that still doesn't address the SURSA issue. I need to contact them to find out what the compliance, how we're not in compliance, what does it mean? You know, usually the breakaway signs is that's kind of like the latest thing, but I don't know, because it's on the road, so the car hits it, it's supposed to design so it doesn't hurt somebody, but I just gotta find out what that is, what
I
you
think
think
that's
of it.
really going to create.
If,
Before it's true.
yeah, it's true, if they, would this sign, I don't wanna belabor this, but like, would this fall under the purview of SURSA because it's not like emergency wayfinding, it's more tourism wayfinding, is there a difference?
And there might be, so that's what we need.
Yeah, I know, that's why I gotta find out.
So we need to find out
Okay.
who did it, what the potential cost is based on
Fixing it.
fixing it and making it legal.
Yes.
And then perhaps enhancing.
Yeah, so then the
And then after that, we decide
side
whether we want to approve it or
then
not.
to some degree, is do we want to change in any capacity? And I would be willing to work with Kevin on that, since we seem to be
I'm interested.
pro that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
we
you and I will
agree.
be kind of working piece of what the sign says.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Okay.
I wanna give Mary her time, to go over the
I'll go with
GIS, and then,
Okay, I can roll, I can go.
Add mine to it.
So, as you all know, HGI has put out a list of some of the events that are upcoming, this summer. I just want to remind you, only because it was specific to this Business Promotions Commission meeting, that on July 10th, which is this Sunday, following Kevin's Bastille Day on July 9th, and on August 7th, we are having a garden party, but the last hour, from 5 to 6, we are extending a merchant appreciation opportunity to our business owners to come and have a free cocktail on us. If there is anything that we could start, we as in this commission can start promoting for our merchant appreciation in October, please let me know. I don't know how many business operators will be stopping by. They seem to be excited about it. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Cocktail is great.
Cocktails are always good. So, yeah, we're passing out, free little coupons just, and the business community was asking, oh, are we gonna have appreciation thing again? We'll say, sure, I'm interested in that. So that's kind of where that is. So if you've got any ideas, just follow them through. As you all know, September 4th, Sunday of Labor Day weekend, Historic Georgetown sponsors the duck race. All of you guys are involved. Phil, you and Rick more on, it's not a lot of things that the town needs to do.
But if you buy a duck, make sure that it goes for either
That's
the
right.
cultural arts program.
And right now,
so
Silver
the
Brick,
first grade at Georgetown Community School.
and
I'm dead.
right now, Silver Brick, Mr. Skalsky, who's not paying any attention,
You can't hear us.
He's trying.
He's with us.
Silver Brick is in the lead of sales for the businesses with the Hotel de Paris coming in.
Really?
Yes, so there's a merchant.
Did you hear that,
competition.
Steve?
There's a merchant
No.
competition in addition
He's,
to the duck
she said
race.
you're in the lead of duck sales for the duck race.
Oh, well, that doesn't surprise me.
So more importantly, and again, kind of dragging on to a lot of the things that were said today at this meeting. As you all know, Historic Georgetown coordinates the Christmas market. We've been doing this, not me personally, obviously, but we've been doing this for years and years because this will be our 62nd Christmas market. This is at no profit to Historic Georgetown. When it was started years ago, it just was what it was. We charge vendor fees, which obviously for vendors, but that money goes to pay for entertainment. Historic Georgetown doesn't see a dime. Just repeating what you already know on that. But so here's some of our concerns. We want to stay definitely within the tradition of what has occurred here over the last 62 years. However, things change. Many of us are open to that change, and so if you have suggestions as to what you might want to see, either for this year or in the future, please say something. If you don't speak up, then don't complain. However, major concerns that were already brought up, typically our vendors set up in Strauss Park. We know Strauss Park, even when it's completely redone, is going to have less vendor space. We have major concerns about whether Strauss Park is going to be ready to have Christmas market this year in whatever stage it's in. Electricity is going to be a big deal if there's no electricity, because the vendors need electricity. They also need heat because it's blessed cold. I could use a different word, but I won't. Everyone knows what word would come out of my mouth. My proposal, plan B, would be to put up some type of tent in that area if Strauss Park is not ready for vendors. But I can also say that we would be looking at the town to help us with that expense in a great way, because the town would be letting down Christmas market if Strauss Park wasn't there. Aside from that, we, Historic Georgetown, do plan on expanding with the assistance of hotel pairs in the town and setting up a tent in parking lot over here with additional vendors. We plan to propose to ask for a beer garden opportunity, which we have not had in the last several years, if at all, since I've been involved. A concern would be electricity and heat over there. The heat would obviously be part of the tent rental that we would do to put that there. The electricity is something that we need to work with the town to see if we can run the turtle that we had over at Town Hall over there to provide electricity or a generator. I did talk to Libby at the library. There's a nice ring to it. Last year, the library was gracious enough to allow us to expand into the courtyard at Library Park, let's call it. She has assured me that they will not be under construction, which we were concerned about, so that space is available, but that's a small space. So envision that Christmas market is going to be a little bit more spread out. It's not just going to be the Strauss Park pocket like it, at times has been. We would like to be able to use library stage to have all the entertainment out there, in addition to having some potential entertainment in the tent with the beer garden and the vendors at the parking lot at the hotel in Paris. But everyone always says the Christmas market could be better. Please make suggestions, because we are planning now. I've got a lot of vendors already planned to return. We certainly want to solicit new vendors to fill up all this space. It's not going to be, it probably still won't be any more than 24 vendors. I mean, even in the spaces that we're allocating, we're talking 12 spaces. Maybe, 10, but allowing the beer gardens. Brunello Pass and Cabin Creek have already agreed to participate in the beer garden. Brunello Pass is going to have the first weekend of Christmas market. And then Cabin Creek will sponsor the beer for the second weekend of Christmas market. Right now, we're only talking maybe Saturday and Sunday. We opened up Christmas market a little bit, at least to the outside vendors, on Friday last year. The vendors are certainly willing to do that. What other events? Entertainment is hard to pull off on Friday. The San Lucia Singers are hard to pull off because they won't be out of school.
They will be.
They're off on Fridays.
Oh, well, that might be harder to pull together if they're all scrambling, but good point, thanks for the reminder on that.
we're excluded now.
That's right, so that might be a possibility if we want to expand to Friday, but when I say we expand to Friday, we can start Georgetown, I should be sitting over here with a different hand. I kind of want to get the feeling from the businesses whether, I know they're not gonna say no, but it takes more than just saying, no. So, okay, I'm done, thanks.
I like that voice.
You like that? Oh. Helps to replace some of the other ones.
Jeff's gonna make sure that the calendar, the events calendar is updated with the things that we just talked about, and then as far as Christmas market goes, it's probably appropriate for us to start adding to our agenda.
Okay,
So it will go on the agenda.
Sure.
And we will. It would be helpful if we had like. Okay, we're gonna just have to, we can't talk about it. We're done. What was the graffiti?
Oh, yeah, I spotted a little bit of graffiti along Sixth Street on two of the town trash cans. So the can by Nisel and Anderson and the can by the library both have graffiti on them.
Was it turf or turf, TRP?
I don't know.
So you said library?
And Kane, Nisel and Anderson.
Because we had some serious,
Yeah, and so
I noticed too around the lake too, there's graffiti around some of the trash.
Oh, yeah,
cans.
you can't touch it.
No.
yeah, it's increasing.
it happened like 10 years ago too, with some kids. It's not even-
There was so much said about that.
So so if we could just, you know,
Oh,
if
there's
you
some
see graffiti,
oil trash can-
if you see graffiti on something that's town
There's some on the
in
Excel
form
box.
of where.
On the Excel box.
Right.
Oh, I know, I've seen it with stickers and everything.
Yeah.
That thing is, you know, just
Yeah.
But I can't just touch it.
No,
Like,
of
I
course.
brought- I brought-
sorry, Steve, sorry you can't hear what's going on.
Okay.
Graffiti.
There's like, they can't hear when there's, everybody's talking at once.
So, yeah, that big electrical thing, that but yeah, we can stay kind of.
So, can I ask a question, what do we do? What's the plan, do we call somebody?
I think there might be a solvent or something, I think there might be a graffiti removal product.
Or parts.
Or, you know, I don't want you to ruin the finish on the cans because you have to repeat the whole thing, but, it's an applied paint situation. And, you need to, I guess, look for a product that is kind to heated metal. So it doesn't eat through the factory finish. I don't know what that is, you might look at, like, Google.
There's a.
I would start gentle,
Yeah.
and this is,
I have seen, yeah.
But the other, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm gonna reach out to Scott and talk to maybe Beth Luther to see if she's got any contacts.
that's it.
All right,
Thanks for doing this.
can we, approve the minutes, please?
Mary has told me that Fix the Cowboy Band, they played at noon and not the Jeffco Brass Band, and then I'll add that they played at the library stage. That was the only thing she had.
Can I ask one more comment from the 4th of July weekend? Kevin was supposed to do trash, Kevin was out. Kevin was our henchman that, I mean, it was tough, we all had to pick up, cut grass, we all cut grass ourselves, so it was.
You guys did an amazing job.
Wait, we're doing the minutes right now, can we? Just approve the minutes real quick and then tell your thing, because we're right in the middle of it. Thank you. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but you were gonna go off on something else, right?
You are correct. I'll take the motion whenever.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the June 1st, 2022 meeting as corrected, and then want me to do the 22nd too?
Well, wait, let's get a second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then what if the June 22nd one didn't have corrections, then it would be messed up, so.
Right, so
June 22nd,
I'll make that motion to accept the June 22nd meeting minutes as presented.
And a second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, go ahead.
Right, sorry, I didn't.
Yeah.
My mind was on something. Trash was a big issue, and I just want to hear your feedback. How did the trash go? What could have been different, especially in City Park? I noticed that cans were starting to stack, and I was trying myself to get the trash in bags. But do you have any thoughts?
So, I used to be involved with a big Victorian festival in Atlanta, and we would just bring in extra trash cans to kind of disperse the piles. And they were just cardboard boxes that were made for this use, and they're single use, and so I think you throw the whole can away with the liner at the same time. And so they're marketed to special events and festivals, and they come flat, and they pop open, and you put a liner in it. And so if those could just be added to the permanent cans that are already here, just during special events, that's the way to do it.
And we needed more trash receptacles for the beer garden too.
Yeah, and these would be great for
Right.
that. Yeah, so they're just a cardboard box, pops open and made for this, and oftentimes it even has artwork on the outside to inform the public to use those during that festival. And at this point, they probably would be bringing for photos, but I would just get one off the shelf, just a basic model.
It's our weekend plan for trash pickup in town.
Does Ken just get it on weekends?
On our weekend plan, Kevin normally comes in for he waters plants and does trash. And we hired a part-time guy that they'll start rotating, so he doesn't have the burden. Because he'll go 2 weeks without taking off.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You know,
Because it's been,
He
it
does-
was an issue at Library Park on Saturday.
Yeah, and I had asked Kevin to start emptying that trash bin, because technically it's not ours, but I talked to them and saying, how can we help? We will start doing it on weekends, and then if they can kind of manage it, unless they can call us, if, because they can do something.
The Parker Campus Libraries?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
it's brown, it's all.
Oh, it gets majority.
It does, and it's not any more of a burden than one more human for our.
We need to, thank you, I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to adjourn, it is 10:23. Thank you. Second, all in favor, aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Yeah.